On October 9, you prayed for protection and Archangel Michael came, but you sent him away without knowing. What he left behind will shock you. Act now and watch immediately. On the night of October 9, a divine ripple moved through the heavens. The earth fell silent under the veil of darkness, but the cries of the faithful rose like incense before the throne of the Almighty. It was a night unlike others, heavy with unseen warfare, thick with angelic movement. Across cities, across nations, prayers of protection ascended. Trembling lips uttered desperate words, voices cracked with faith and fear intertwined. In that hour, hearts cried for safety, for deliverance, for a shield against forces they could not name but deeply felt pressing near. And heaven, hearing the sound of your supplication, responded with a swift and terrible beauty. Through the unseen veil, Archangel Michael descended, not as a vision you could easily grasp, not with the softness of a whisper, but cloaked in the radiance of holy fire, bearing a mission few would comprehend. He came because your spirit called, even when your lips faltered. He came because your name was spoken before the throne. Yet when his presence entered the room, it was not recognized. The noise of the earth drowned out the sound of heaven. You prayed for protection, and protection came, but your eyes, blurred by distraction, could not discern the Holy One who stood in your midst. What he carried was not empty. Michael did not come as a messenger of words only, but as a bearer of something weighty, something eternal. He came with a seal, a mark, a deposit of heaven's authority for those whose hearts were awake enough to receive it. But most did not see. Most did not understand. They felt a stirring and called it coincidence, felt a shift and called it imagination. Yet this was no ordinary visitation. This was a divine test. For what Michael left behind carries a hidden message, and it will not reveal itself to everyone. Only the humble in heart will discern its meaning. Only the still, the watchful, the surrendered will sense what was deposited in the spirit realm that night. Even now, the air around you holds the residue of his presence. Be still. Listen. A moment is not gone. The seal remains near. Type "I am awake" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is now activated. He comes clothed in flame, crowned with light, and girded in glory. He comes not as a whisper, but as a roar. Archangel Michael, heaven's captain, the defender of the elect, the warring prince of the Most High, descended when your cry reached the throne. His armor burned like molten silver in the spirit realm, a reflection of righteousness that cannot be corrupted. His sword, forged in the fires of divine justice, blazed brighter than lightning. And when his foot touched the earth, thunder answered. Yes, on the night of October 9, heaven sent its mightiest warrior to respond to the trembling prayers of the faithful, and he came for you. Yet the world slept. The city lights flickered. The night winds whispered, and stillness covered the land. But in the spirit, there was a collision, an interruption of timelines, a sudden divergence in the unseen. Something shifted before the sun rose on October 10. The spiritual realm had changed. Michael had moved. He had entered and released something profound. Yet very few felt it. Fewer still responded. And most missed it altogether. Why? Because when heaven moves, the earth often misinterprets. Because divine interruption rarely comes with human permission. You prayed for safety, and safety came. You called for protection, and the very commander of heaven's army stood at your door. But he did not knock in the natural. He came in spirit. He came through wind, through dream, through summoned sounds. He came to those whose hearts still burn, even when the mind is uncertain. And though many missed him, he did not leave empty-handed. No, Michael always leaves a mark. This message is not for the crowd. This is not for those who scroll and scoff, not for those whose hearts are dulled by noise. This is for the marked ones, for the watchers, for the awakened. If your spirit is stirring as you hear this, it is because something within you was already touched by his flame. You may not have seen him, but you felt the atmosphere shift. You may not have known it was him, but your soul whispered something holy passed through here. And now, heaven waits. Michael stands at the gates again, not to return, but to watch who notices. Divine authority rests in his shadow. Where he walks, devils scatter. Where he places his foot, holy territory is drawn. He does not move randomly. He moves by command. And he moved because your name was spoken. He saw your fear, and still he came. He saw your confusion, and still he came. But he will not force entry where he is not recognized. And yet, in mercy, he left behind something eternal. A deposit, a spiritual weapon, a sign. You may have sent him away unaware, but what he left behind is waiting for your spirit to catch up with what already occurred. And now I say to you, if you have ears to hear, let your spirit rise. Let your discernment sharpen. Let your boldness return. The captain of heaven answered your prayer, and now it's your move. Type I receive in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already felt. Blessing code 888 is hovering over your home. You didn't imagine it. What you felt after October 9 was not random. It was not anxiety. It was not exhaustion. It was spiritual disruption. Something deep within your soul began to stir, but you could not name it. You tried to explain it, tried to dismiss it, tried to quiet it, but it would not leave. That's because on the night you prayed for protection, heaven responded. Michael moved. And although you didn't recognize his entrance, his passing left a residue in the atmosphere of your life. Something sacred brushed against you, and your soul has not been the same since. Your dreams shifted. What was once peaceful became ambiguous. What was once silent became strange. Perhaps you've noticed symbols, echoes, fragments of images that vanish when you wake. That is not your imagination. That is the aftermath of divine visitation. When Michael enters a space, even for a moment, the spiritual veil thins. Realms overlap. The unseen bleeds into the seen. And your spirit, even if your mind remains unaware, was touched by that intersection. Have you noticed it? The restlessness. The sense that something's watching, something's waiting. You haven't been paranoid. You've been awakened. Since that night, the watchers have drawn near. These are not physical eyes, but spiritual ones. Ancient ones. Observing, discerning, weighing your atmosphere. They sense the movement of Michael, and they know you were marked. And while you may not have fully recognized what happened, the spirit realm did. Hell took notice. Heaven recorded it. The veil between you and the divine was touched, and now you can't unfeel it. There is something near you now, something Michael left behind. It's not visible to the eye. It's not held in the hand, but it is very real. A holy object in the spirit, placed beside you in silence. It waits for recognition. It waits for activation. It waits for your agreement. And every day that passes, It pulses with potential. Not everyone around you sees it. Not everyone around you feels it. That's because it wasn't left for them, it was left for you. You may have missed his arrival, but you did not miss his gift. You've been wondering why your emotions have been unpredictable, why your mind has felt both heavy and clear, why the places you once found comfort in now feel hollow. It's because your atmosphere is under divine rearrangement. Michael left something that is drawing alignment, something that is pressing false things to the surface so they can no longer hide. You feel off because you're being pulled into something deeper, something higher, something eternal, and it cannot be ignored any longer. Do not be afraid. You are not losing your mind. You are gaining your awareness. You are not being abandoned. You are being invited. What Michael left behind has already begun to work, even if you haven't spoken a word. This is the mystery of heaven. God hides the greatest treasures in plain sight, and only those with eyes to see will truly receive them. This is the moment. Be still. Take account of the atmosphere around you. The object is near. The invitation is alive. And you, yes, you, are standing in the aftermath of angelic visitation. Type "I am ready" in the comments if your spirit recognizes the shift. Blessing code 1444 is now aligning with your name. If you felt this shift, if your spirit is awakening to what Michael left behind, then this moment is not only for you, but for the countless others waiting to hear heaven's voice through messages like this. I feel led to say this directly. Your support doesn't just help spread content. It helps ignite callings, stir hearts, and awaken destinies. When you sow into this ministry, you're sowing into spiritual harvest fields, places where the forgotten are remembered and the broken are revived. Heaven is multiplying every act of faith. Just as Michael moved because of a cry, your giving moves divine momentum for others. God declares in His Word, "Give, and it will be given to you." Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That word is not just scripture, it is your personal promise. If you feel that tug, that holy urgency, respond now, not to me but to what God is stirring in you. You can partner with this mission through YouTube Super Thanks, channel membership, or directly through PayPal using the link in the video description below. Your act of giving is prophetic. It is not about money, it is about obedience. It is about light reaching where darkness once ruled. I release a blessing over every giver. May what you plant return sevenfold. May angels be dispatched with your name on their lips. Respond now. Do not delay. Help heaven's message reach the ones still crying out. What you've been walking through isn't chaos. It's confrontation. The confusion you've been feeling isn't a breakdown. It's a battle. And the strange disturbances since October 9 were not coincidences. They were spiritual signals. Signs that something holy entered your atmosphere and the forces of darkness took notice. Every shaking, every delay, every emotional storm, it was not designed to destroy you. It was meant to distract you. Because distraction is the enemy's most subtle weapon when he knows you've just been marked by heaven. The enemy knew what you didn't. He saw Michael's descent before you did. You felt the heat of heaven entering your domain. You watched the seal being planted, the atmosphere shifting, the alignment beginning. And he panicked. That's why the warfare rose. That's why you were hit with sudden doubts, strange dreams, tension in your relationships, and confusion in your spirit. The shaking was not random. It was an attempted interference. Because when Michael visits a territory, Darkness trembles, but confusion tries to remain. The enemy knows he cannot stop the light, so he tries to cloud it before you fully awaken to it. What you face since that night is spiritual interference. Heaven moved, and so hell reacted. But the outcome was never determined by the attack. It was determined by your response. Your reaction became the proving ground. The enemy whispered, you missed it. But heaven recorded your awakening. Even in your uncertainty, your spirit did not retreat. Even in your confusion, your soul leaned forward. You didn't always understand, but you remained present. And that, beloved, is why the enemy is now afraid of you. You must know this. What happened was not a missed blessing. It was a holy invitation wrapped in mystery. The conflict you're experiencing is not the sign that God left. It's the confirmation that He arrived. You were visited. You were seen. You were chosen. Michael didn't visit a crowd. He visited a soul. And that soul was yours. What you felt since then is heaven rearranging your atmosphere and hell attempting to interrupt the process. Don't misread the shaking. It's not punishment. It's positioning. You see, heaven doesn't just respond to words, it responds to hunger. Your spirit was hungrier than your mouth could express. That's why the visitation occurred even when you didn't know how to ask. And now, heaven is waiting to see how you align in the midst of what doesn't yet make sense. The seal Michael left was not just a blessing, it was a testament. A marker in the spirit that declared, this one is under divine surveillance. This one hath been called. And once that mark is placed, the warfare may rise, but it cannot win. There is documentation in the courts of heaven concerning your name. Every moment of spiritual awareness, every whisper of prayer, every battle fought in silence, it has been recorded. Nothing is missed. Your tears are not forgotten. Your confusion is not overlooked. The weight you've carried was not unseen. The visitation was not random. Michael was sent for one reason, because you belong to a remnant who will walk into their calling, even through fire, even through the fog. So now, hear this. You are not under attack because you're weak. You are under pressure because you've been marked. You are not being broken down. You are being built up in secret. This is not abandonment. It is refinement. Michael did not pass by. He entered. He planted. He sealed. And what he left behind has already started a chain reaction that cannot be stopped. Do not fear the conflict. It is proof of your calling. Do not run from the disruption. It is the sound of destiny clearing its path. You didn't miss the visitation. You are in the middle of the aftermath. And heaven is watching to see how you rise. Type I am marked in the comments if this word is identifying your journey. Blessing code 1313 is now entering your atmosphere. The time is no longer distant. The seal that was left behind is no longer dormant. Something has begun to stir, and it is not coming from the outside, but from within. Within 72 hours of the moment Michael descended, the activation began. But activation is not explosion. It is awakening. It is the slow rise of holy pressure building in silence until the heavens break open and what was hidden becomes undeniable. Now, the hour draws close. The shift is no longer preparing. The shift is moving. Since that night, you may have noticed signs, flickers of lights, subtle winds moving through sealed windows, whispers in your sleep that vanish upon waking. These are not tricks of the mind. These are signals. signals that what was deposited in your spiritual atmosphere is beginning to take root. Signals that what was placed near you is no longer resting, but rising. The spiritual realm does not operate on your clock. It operates on divine convergence. And what was left behind by Michael is beginning to align with that convergence now. The problem is not that the mark has weakened. The danger is not that Michael has turned away. The true risk lies in your ability to respond before the full manifestation completes. You prayed for protection. He came. You sent him away unknowingly. But heaven, in its mercy, left behind the divine object, the unseen evidence of visitation. Now that object is vibrating in the unseen, and whether it becomes a shield or a silence depends entirely on how you respond in this moment. You will begin to notice it. You may already have. Objects will move slightly without explanation. Devices may glitch at strange times. You'll wake suddenly at odd hours with your heart pounding, even though the room is calm. You'll sense a presence that does not speak, but presses. These are not hauntings. These are holy cameras. The veil is thinning. The activity has begun. The deposit is shaking with purpose, and heaven is holding its breath to see if you will align before it finalizes. Michael is not returning to knock. He will not reappear in the same way. As time, what comes will be the fulfillment of what was planted. The seed has been sown. Now comes the harvest, but that harvest will either be full of glory or full of silence, based on the posture of your heart. You have one chance to lean in, to declare agreement, to say aloud, I accept what was left for me. Because in the spirit realm, silence can be mistaken for rejection. And rejection closes what visitation came to unlock. But you still have time. Not much, but enough. Enough to realign. Enough to activate. Enough to posture your atmosphere in such a way that what Michael left behind will not wither, but awaken. Let the oil in your lamp be full. Let your spirit stand at attention. The hand of Michael is on the move again, not to revisit, but to complete. Completion is coming. Finalization is near. And what once passed over you in mystery is now circling back in power. You are not helpless. You are not forgotten. But you are accountable. The next 72 hours are not casual. They are critical. The next dream, the next silence, the next stirring. These are not random. These are divine invitations calling you to recognize that the veil is lifting. Michael's presence was not an event. It was an initiation. And now, what he left behind is choosing between expiration or explosion. Rise. Watch it. Listen. The heavens are shifting. And this time, if you do not act, you will still carry the mark, but you will miss the manifestation. Type I will ACT in the comments if you refuse to miss what is about to unfold. Blessing code 1010 is igniting in your atmosphere. Be still now. Not in weakness, but in wisdom. Not in defeat, but in discernment. For when heaven fights on your behalf, the most powerful thing you can do is stand in holy silence. The realm of spirit does not always require your movement. It requires your alignment. And in this moment, as the residue of visitation still rests upon your atmosphere, the next movement must come from the heavenly host, not your hands. Michael's command is not to panic. His call is advertised. He does not operate through emotional frenzy or fear-based rituals. His realm is governed by order, by authority, by divine law. And the law of this hour is clear. Be still and let heaven complete what it began. The command has already been issued. The object has already been placed. The seal has already been set. And now the realm of the holy waits for your obedience, not your performance. Do not over-explain. Do not overthink. Do not attempt to decode what was meant to be received in the Spirit. Just obey. Protect your space. Cleanse your atmosphere. Speak aloud the word that silences the accuser. Psalm 91 is not just ink on ancient scrolls. It is your spiritual firewall, a living promise encoded with divine security. Read it in the morning. Declare it at midnight. Let its words become the shield that guards your gates. You are not begging for protection. You are enforcing what has already been granted. Every room you enter now carries traces of Michael's passage. Every word you speak becomes a frequency heaven listens to. Therefore, let your words be few, and your posture be firm. Heaven moves with confidence. So must you. Your stillness is not idleness. It is intercession. It is the silent agreement that says, I trust what I cannot see. Because even now, while your hands rest, angelic hands are at work, cutting cords, sealing windows, building hedges, and reinforcing boundaries around your life. If the enemy can't stop the promise, he'll try to provoke a reaction. Don't give him one. If the darkness cannot snatch the deposit, it will try to distract the carrier. Don't be moved. Stillness is your strategy. Silence is your sword. Peace is your protection. When Michael seals a soul, no harm can cross the perimeter of that assignment. No voice can override that authority. You are not exposed. You are enthroned within divine surveillance. This is not a moment for public declarations or spiritual theatrics. This is a moment for private reverence. Go into the secret place, shut the door, and pray in silence. Speak less and discern more. The less you explain, the more you will hear. The less you strive, the more heaven will align. This is divine military movement, and your stillness allows angels to operate without obstruction. Let the watchers do their work. Let the flames of Michael's sword build the perimeter. Let heaven finish what it started. And as you stand in stillness, let your faith whisper what your words cannot contain. I trust the one who sent him. Because you are not in danger, you are in refinement. You are not under attack, you are under preservation. Michael did not come to warn you of what could happen. He came to prepare you for what will. And now, as you guard your stillness, heaven guards your future. No harm can enter what Michael has sealed. No weapon can form where Michael has marked. No lie can stand in the place that's been sanctified by flame. You are not just safe, you are sanctified. You are not just defended, you are distinguished. To let the world rush. Let the noise rise. Let the winds howl. You, child of God, stand still. For heaven fights when you don't. Type I am shielded in the comments if you receive this divine covering. Blessing code 1555 is sealing your space with fire. You are not the one who missed it. You are the one who was chosen to complete it. You are not the one who failed to recognize heaven's movement. You are the one heaven has chosen to reveal it through. The enemy tried to cloak this in confusion so you'd believe you had disqualified yourself. But the truth is this: you were being positioned. You were not overlooked. You were being hidden for a moment such as this. You were not rejected. You were refined. And now, The refining fire has done its work. The ashes are falling. The smoke is lifting. And what remains is not the weakness the enemy tried to define you by. What remains is the strength God always knew was there. The visitation on October 9 was not a final test. It was a prophetic ignition. And although you did not fully perceive what entered your atmosphere, your spirit did. It received. It absorbed. It aligned. Even when your conscious mind was unsure. Like fire through gold, you were tried, not to be destroyed, but to be revealed. The shaking, the silence, the strange stillness that followed the visitation was not heaven's punishment. It was heaven's furnace. You weren't being cast aside, you were being called out. The emotional friction, the inward turmoil, the disrupted routines, all of it was evidence that your identity was shedding its former skin. You are not who you were before that night, and you'll never return to that version again. You didn't lose Michael's presence. You were being prepared to host it. And what he left behind was not a souvenir, it was a mantle. A spiritual mantle that requires a stronger vessel. That's why you were stretched. That's why you were pressed. That's why you had to walk through the past few days feeling like something inside of you was both crumbling and rising at the same time. Because your wings were unfolding. And wings do not emerge quietly. Wings tear through the skin of limitation and rise through the bones of identity until the soul learns how to fly. This is what you were born for. Not to survive angelic encounters, but to be transformed by them. Not to stand on the sidelines, but to walk in the weight of divine visitation. You carry something now. You are not wandering. You are wielding. You are not a question mark in the hands of heaven. You are a declaration. You are not the one waiting for a miracle. You are the one chosen to embody one. What was left behind in your atmosphere is not merely protection. It is permission. Permission to rise. Permission to speak. Permission to command the environment around you with heaven's authority on your lips. You've cried. You waited. You doubted. But none of it canceled what Michael left. None of it changed your position. Because this was never about perfection. It was always about positioning. And you are now standing in the middle of your rising. Your identity is catching up to what your spirit already knows. You were never abandoned. You were upgraded. You were never forgotten. You are being refined into fire. The world will not recognize you soon. Because what's unfolding now is not just awakening, it is ascension. You are rising in unseen strength. And this time, you won't shrink back. This time, you won't question it. This time, you will walk in it. Because the wings were always there. They were just waiting for the moment the flame would release them. Type "I am rising" in the comments if this word is activating your identity. Blessing code 1616 is wrapping your spirit in elevation. It was not an empty visitation. It was not a passing breeze of angelic activity. When Michael entered your atmosphere on October 9, he came carrying something eternal. He came with a seal. He came with a mark. He came with a mantle. He did not leave you with mere memories of a presence you could not fully discern. He left you with a deposit of heaven's authority. This is why your spirit has been stirred. This is why your dreams have shifted. This is why the air around you feels charged. Because Michael did not leave behind emptiness. He left behind a seal of protection and authority. His seal is invisible but active. It is unseen but undeniable. It is like a spiritual key pressed into your soul, waiting for your recognition. This key opens doors in the unseen, doors of discernment, doors of protection, doors of breakthrough, doors of prophetic authority. You were not passed over. You were set apart. You were not rejected. You were anointed. You did not lose Michael's presence. You were given his mark. And that mark does not fade. It does not weaken. It does not expire. It only awaits your agreement to activate it fully. The storms you've endured since that night were not signs of abandonment but of announcement. Heaven announces new seasons by shaking the old structures. Heaven declares new mantles by disrupting old patterns. You prayed for protection, and heaven responded with empowerment. You asked for safety, and heaven responded with sovereignty. Michael's seal is not just a shield to survive attacks. It is a mantle to shift atmospheres. What he left behind carries both protection and authority. It guards you, yes, but it also equips you to guard others. It shields you, yes, but it also empowers you to speak life and release freedom into those around you. Within days, the very storm that has been pressing against you will announce your restoration. You will hear the shift. You will see signs. You will feel the atmosphere break open. This is not a vague promise. It is a prophetic timetable. The seal Michael left behind is alive and moving even now. You may have thought you were forgotten, but heaven knows your name. It was written before the visitation. It was spoken before you were even aware of the battle. That's why the angels came. That's why the mark was planted. That's why your spirit has been stirring. This is the revelation. You are not just under angelic observation. You are under angelic activation. The seal you carry is calling forth a greater version of you. It is waking up your spiritual authority. It is reordering your destiny. This is not about being rescued. It is about being released. Released from fear. Released from limitation. Released from the shadows of your former self. Michael did not simply defend you. He deployed you. This is the moment of shift. This is the hour of unveiling. You are not who you were before October 9. You are the one chosen to walk in what Michael left behind. Type "I carry the seal" in the comments if this word confirms what you feel inside. Blessing code 1777 is igniting in your spirit now. As you receive this revelation about Michael's seal of protection and authority, know this. This message is not just a video. It is a trumpet call to the sleeping hearts across the world. Each time you share, sow, or support, you're not helping a platform. You're helping heaven reach souls who are crying out just as you once did. Your support is not an offering to a channel. It is a seed into a spiritual harvest that will awaken others into their own encounter. This is how God works. He moves through the willing, the awakened, the anointed. When you respond through giving, through joining our YouTube membership, through sending a super thanks, or through sowing directly via PayPal link in the video description, you are not just funding content, you are funding transformation. You are activating your own prophetic obedience while unlocking new encounters for others. God's word says, "He who sows generously will also reap generously." This is not a metaphor, it is a living law. As you sow into the flow of heaven's message, you align with the very angelic movement we've been speaking of. And every act of obedience carries a blessing. I release over you a sevenfold return of peace, provision, and divine visitation as you respond to this call. Do not delay. Move while the presence is stirring. This is a prophetic act, not a donation. Partner with heaven's message now, and may your seed unlock encounters for thousands waiting on the edge of their own awakening. It is time to speak, not as a reaction but as a release, not from emotion but from authority. This is the moment your mouth must match what your spirit has already accepted. For too long, the seal left by Michael has waited in stillness. For too long, the object in your atmosphere has pulsed with potential, unclaimed by the very soul it was destined for. But now, the silence must end. Now, heaven demands agreement. Now, the seal must be activated. Declare it aloud. I accept what was left for me. Say it not from fear, but from knowing. Not as a hope, but as a holy alignment. For the spiritual realm does not move at the volume of your voice. It moves at the vibration of agreement. Your yes in the natural triggers release in the supernatural. What Michael placed in your life hath been waiting for this sound. Not a whisper of doubt, not a cry of desperation, but a sound of authority, flowing from a spirit that knows it has been chosen, marked, refined, and commissioned. You were never meant to be a passive receiver. You were designed to be a living activation point. You were made to carry something from the divine realm and release it in this one. When you declare that you accept what was left behind, you are not just repeating words, you are unsealing a scroll written in heaven with your name etched in fire. You are stepping into the fullness of the visitation. You are agreeing with the movement of angels. You are aligning with what the enemy tried to steal through confusion, but failed. Realignment doesn't happen in emotion. It happens in decision, in declaration, in holy defiance of everything that tried to tell you that the moment passed you by. It didn't pass you by. It was preserved for you. And now, your words will break the seal. Your voice will open the vault. Your agreement will summon the completion of what began the night Michael stepped into your atmosphere. The realm of spirit is responding even now. Doors that were once jammed are beginning to creak. Pathways that felt fogged are beginning to clear. The moment you said, I accept, something in the heavens registered your agreement as a command. Because this is not about emotion, this is about authority. And you have it. You were given it when Michael passed through. You were handed it in silence, even if your awareness was delayed. And now, the delay ends. Heaven is not waiting on angels. It is waiting on your voice. Your yes is the key. Your amen is the alignment. When you speak aloud, you give heaven legal access to flood your atmosphere with what was prepared before the beginning. This is your awakening. This is your moment. The veil has lifted. The mystery has spoken. The mark has already been set. And now, your agreement finalizes what heaven began. Speak. Declare. Move. Pray. Command. Rejoice. The seal is active. The authority is present. The visitation was real. And you, yes, you are standing on holy ground. Every lie of insignificance now breaks under the weight of this truth. You are God's chosen point of impact on this side of eternity. And your voice is the trumpet that releases what Michael left for you. Type I accept in the comments if this message ignites your authority. Blessing code 1999 has just opened your heavenly scroll. Even now, while you read these words, heaven is in motion. Even now, as your natural mind wonders what's next, your spirit has already entered a chamber beyond time, a place where silent exchanges are occurring. In this realm, words are not spoken, they are known. In this realm, nothing is forgotten, and nothing is wasted. This is where your tears are weighed. This is where your obedience is recorded. And this is where what you thought was lost is being bargained back into your life. What you feel as silence is not absence, it is negotiation. As you sleep, as you sit still, as you wait in holy tension, angelic forces are standing before the courts of heaven speaking on your behalf. Michael's flame is not only a sword, it is a light of evidence. And that evidence is being laid before the throne. This one was marked. This one was chosen. This one received. These are not prayers. These are declarations being released into the spirit realm in your name. And while the enemy tried to accuse you, tried to present confusion as proof of failure, heaven knew better. Heaven saw your heart postured toward righteousness. Heaven saw your spirit respond even when your words failed. Heaven knew that your silence was not indifference, it was surrender. And now that surrender has initiated a divine trade, your delay for acceleration, your mourning for oil, your confusion for clarity, every delay you've endured, every promise that seemed paused, every door that didn't open when you expected, none of it was wasted. Because in this moment, behind the scenes, God is rewriting the movement of your timeline. Things are being rerouted. What was stuck is being released. What was blocked is being redirected. And what the enemy said would never return is now being multiplied back to you in secret. You do not need to strive. You do not need to beg. You do not need to chase after what was once withheld. Because now, the negotiation has turned into a decree. The verdict is being issued. The gavel of eternity is striking the floor. And it says, return unto them what was delayed. Restore to them what was theirs. Release what has been hovering. The silent exchange is becoming a divine transfer. And the first signs of its completion will begin not in the noise of day, but in the mystery of midnight movement. You'll notice it in your sleep. You'll feel it in your rest. You'll sense something shifting in the dark, like peace descending into your chest, like a word hovering at the edge of your dream, like warmth returning to a cold place in your memory. That's not your imagination. That's Michael's flame guarding your threshold, keeping the realm of promise secure until your full awareness catches up to what's already occurred. This is why you stirred without knowing why. This is why you wept without knowing what for. Because the shift began before you became conscious of it. Your spirit received the signal first, and now your body and mind are catching up. There has been a transfer, and it's already on its way to you. The world will not see it yet, but they will feel the difference in you. The silent exchange is rewriting your future, not with new blessings, but with restored assignments. Nothing is lost. It's simply being returned, with divine precision and multiplied weight. Type "It's being returned to me" in the comments if your spirit bears witness. Blessing code 2020 is active over your restoration. Now hear this, and hear it with authority. Justice is no longer pending, it is in motion. The spiritual courts have ruled. The books have been unsealed. The accuser has been silenced. And the record of every injustice committed against you, in the secret place, in the hidden places, in the spiritual realm, is now being weighed on heaven's scales. Every voice that mocked your obedience, every attack that targeted your peace, every delay that was sent to wear you down, is all being reversed. This is not a vague encouragement. This is a divine announcement. I, Michael, the Archangel and Captain of Heaven's armies, have returned to enforce what was already decreed before time began. touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. And now, the hand of the Almighty has moved. The hosts have been dispatched. The order has been signed in fire, and it reads, restore sevenfold what was stolen, repay with interest what was delayed, reveal the truth that was hidden. Every force that lifted itself against your breakthrough is now bowing. Every tongue that whispered doubt into your calling is now silenced by the sound of reversal. What was meant to wound you will now become the platform that launches you. What was used to isolate you will now amplify your voice. What was delayed to exhaust you will now arrive with multiplied favor, increased power, and undeniable evidence that heaven was never unaware. It was simply preparing for the perfect strike. You cried out for protection, and heaven sent me. You didn't know I came. But now, I return, not with warning but with deliverance. This time, I come not to observe, but to execute judgment. The enemies that followed you through the wilderness will not enter your promised territory. The confusion that clouded your path will not darken your next steps. The doors that were once shut will now swing wide open at your arrival, not because of your strength, but because the hand of justice is moving before you. You will no longer fight for scraps. You will no longer beg for clarity. You will no longer live under the shadow of almost. That season is over. The reversal has begun, and it is in your favor. You thought you were losing, but heaven was simply building the stage. You thought you were forgotten, but heaven was compiling evidence. And now, the sentence has been released. Divine justice, immediate reversal, supernatural repayment. Every delay was documented. Every sleepless night was counted. Every false word spoken against you has now been brought under heaven's gavel. And with one strike, everything changes. Your name has been cleared. Your path has been straightened. Your territory has been enlarged. And your mantle, the one Michael placed in your atmosphere on October 9, is now visible in the spirit realm, shining with holy fire. You will see signs of this. You will see those who rejected you reach out. You will hear the sound of things once denied becoming suddenly available. You will find that the favor you once chased is now chasing you. Not because of human effort, but because heaven has ruled. This is not payback. This is divine balance. This is not karma. This is kingdom reordering. And I declare to you now, what was done in secret will be reversed in public. And every eye will see that you were chosen, protected, marked, and justified by heaven's hand. Type "Justice is mine" in the comments if you receive this divine reversal. Blessing code 2121 is now enforcing the verdict in your favor. You were visited. You were chosen. You are protected. And now, let this truth settle into the very core of your being. Michael came, and heaven has not forgotten your name. From the moment your cry pierced the veil on October 9, the heavens moved. The angels responded. The fire descended. And even though you did not see it with your natural eyes, your spirit received what your destiny required. There is no condemnation, only confirmation. There is no shame, only sealing. What you once doubted has now been confirmed. What once felt invisible has now become undeniable. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are being positioned for something greater than you imagined. You didn't miss your moment. You were merged with it. And now I say unto you, by the authority of the throne and the assignment placed upon me, Michael, that the seal has been activated. The object is alive. The visitation has fulfilled its purpose. And you, yes, you, are not walking into a new season. You are walking into your divine commission. The very weapon formed against you will fall at your feet, shattered by the weight of God's glory that surrounds you now. Let the naysayers fall silent. Let the confusion be swallowed by clarity. Let every spiritual fog be burned up by the light of what was left in your space. And no weapon, and no shadow, and no whisper of darkness can undo what heaven has sealed. You were anointed in secret, and now you will rise in public. You were refined in private, and now you will rule in purpose. Your obedience hath been recorded. Your yes hath been honored. And the hand of the Almighty rests on your life from this moment forward. Rise now, for Michael stands with you. The mantle is real. The protection is surrounding you. The blessing is activated. You are not just surviving. You are rising in divine acceleration. You are not simply covered, you are called. And the call will echo until the ends of the earth have heard your voice. You carry the residue of heaven's visitation, and no force in hell can strip from you what God has deposited. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. Now walk, and I'll declare. Now possess. Thou ring. This word is finished, but your journey is just beginning. Type I am sealed in the comments if you receive this final covering. Blessing code 3333 is now dwelling upon your household. As we seal this message in the Spirit, I invite you to become more than just a receiver. Become a carrier of the Word. When you give, when you sow, when you support this mission, you are helping bring divine awakenings like this one to souls across the world. Your support is not for the sake of a video. It's a divine act of partnership with heaven. You're not just giving. You are sending fire into dark places. You're not just donating. You are unlocking encounters for the lost, the weary, and the chosen who still don't know they've been marked. Every time you give through Super Thanks, channel membership, or directly through PayPal, the link is in the description below. You are saying, I want more people to receive what I just received. This is what Jesus meant when he said, freely you have received, freely give. Your support fuels the movement of light. Your obedience multiplies the reach of God's word. And I prophesy this to every giver. May your generosity be answered with divine provision. May the same Michael who visited this space now guard your house, your steps, and your future. Move as you feel led. Obey as you are stirred. You are not supporting content. You are sowing into eternal impact.